All right. Okay, while the speakers are socializing, hi guys, how are y'all doing? I hope you guys are having a fantastic day so far, absorbing all this really interesting insights. All right, so a quick introduction. My name is Sharmaine, right? And I'm just really glad to announce that the fun has not ended because we have this last session. It is titled The Role of Advanced Materials in Achieving Carbon Neutrality in Industries. Right, so a quick introduction. I'm from EcoGarage. I'm a sustainability and waste management consultant. I am also the co-founder and director of solutions and education in EcoGarage. So what we do is we provide climate education to Malaysian schools. We also develop and design income generating projects for low income communities. All right, now I'm really excited to introduce our really esteemed panelists we have here and also virtually here. All right, so starting with Professor Dr. Raymond Uy, the gentleman in the middle. All right, so Professor Dr. Raymond Uy is a leading physicist and fellow of the Academy of Sciences, Malaysia. He's known for his groundbreaking research in quantum optics, nonlinear molecular spectroscopy, and quantum microscopy. With a strong focus on achieving carbon neutrality in industries, Professor Dr. Uy's expertise holds tremendous potential in exploring how the introduction and development of industrial hemp can complement his research efforts. And following Dr. Uy, we have Professor Dr. Sarani Zakaria, which you guys have already met earlier, from the Faculty of Science and Technology, UKM. So Professor Dr. Sarani Zakaria is a highly regarded speaker in this forum, so we're very, very privileged to have her here with us today. With her expertise in natural fiber industry, including hemp and kenaf, she brings a wealth of knowledge to the dialogue session. And also as a leading expert in pulp and paper, lignocellulosic materials, advanced materials, and biopolymers, Professor Dr. Sarani has made significant contributions to the understanding and development of sustainable materials in Malaysia. So her research and expertise in the natural fiber industry have positioned her as a key figure in promoting these materials as sustainable commodity crops. And following Dr. Sarani, we have Mr. Dennis Mcmahon. Mcmahon? McMahon. All right, so sorry about that. Yeah, okay, so Dennis Mcmahon is the CEO of Global Buildtech Australia and proposal manager of Petra Modular Malaysia. He brings his experiences and wisdom in sales, marketing, business development, and business modeling to the panel. With over 20 years of expertise, Dennis has played a pivotal role in various successful ventures. Having lived in Malaysia since 2009, Dennis has a deep understanding of the local market and its potentials. He has established and led several businesses, including Sales Champions in Australia, a business coaching program, and Green Business JV Marketing Sdn Berhad in Malaysia, a consulting firm focused on supporting eco-related services and products. So Dennis's current venture, MCM Greenman Group Sdn Berhad, focuses on research and development of modular buildings for sustainable housing, as well as property management and construction-related services through its subsidiary, High Q Services. I get that right? Awesome. Right, so Dennis will bring really good insight in this panel through his experiences and expertise in green technologies and sustainable solutions in industries. And finally, on the screen, we have Mr. Francesco Mirizzi. He is a senior policy advisor at the European Industrial Hemp Association, EIHA. Francesco brings valuable insights on the role of advanced materials in achieving carbon neutrality in industries, with his extensive experience in policy development and advocacy. As a senior policy advisor at EIHA, Francesco has been at the forefront of promoting sustainable practices and innovation in the hemp industry across Europe. His deep understanding of policy frameworks and market dynamics enables him to provide valuable perspectives on the integration of advanced materials, including industrial hemp, in driving carbon neutrality. All right, so now that you guys are well acquainted with our speakers, you guys know what questions and who to direct it to later in the session, all right? Okay, so I'm very happy to be here with you guys today, and I'm really, really honored to welcome you guys on this panel session. All right, so just really quickly, I'm sure that our speakers have had a really long and successful careers, and the introductions that I just gave may not do it enough justice. So I'd like to take about like 2 to 3 minutes for each speaker to just go one around the floor, introduce yourself a bit more on top of what I already have, especially focused on your expertise in relation to the topic today. So perhaps we could start with Mr. Francesco Mirizzi. Yeah.
Hello. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Perfect. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm glad to be among such a distinguished panel. So, of course, I hope I will bring some insights on about what's going on here in Europe when it comes to what we call Green Deal, so the development of sustainable policies that aim at transitioning the manufacturing industry towards greener production patterns. As at the European Industrial Hemp Association, we really are focused on sustainability and at building the hemp value chain according to the highest sustainability standards. And we hope that this will be the path taken also by other countries and regions around the globe.
Awesome. Thanks. You so much for that brief introduction. All right, so let's move on to Professor Dr. Sarani. Would you like to add on to my introduction? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have been working a lot on the lignocellulose materials and most of it on biomass. We hope that if we can talk on the circular economy, that how much it can contribute as far as the economy is concerned. And if you're looking at the Malaysian industry at the moment, we are far back as far as fibrous materials is concerned. Although the raw materials is abundant in Malaysia, you're talking about raw materials as far as cellulose is concerned, we are the major as far as raw materials is concerned. But as far as industry is concerned, we are not that as far as advanced compared to the European and the others. And our contribution as far as with our industrial academic partner in China and also in European, we are working together, and we hope that if Malaysia wanted to be one of the champion in this industrial, a lot of things has to be considered. Now we are talking about the carbon, the carbon credits, the global warmings with 1.5 degrees and so on and so forth. So there has to be a certain rules and regulation and legislation law to be reinforced as far as this is concerned. Okay.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Sarani. Yep. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sharmaine, for the introduction, and also thank you the organizer for the opportunity to share. Basically, I'm a physicist. I do fundamental research, so I would hope that this field of research, hemp, can be explored more at a fundamental level, especially at a molecular, atomic level, and also how one aspect is now we are talking about green energy, green technology that connects with interaction with light. So one field that is open opportunity is to explore how light interact with material, especially this hemp material. So this is an open area that will be exciting to explore further, and maybe we can come up with some discovery on the potential or something unique behind the product, the hemp material. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, over to you, Mr. Dennis.
Are we on? Are we on? Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for the organisers for inviting me. If you can't tell, I'm from Australia. 15 years in Malaysia, my beam is still sicket, but my accent is as strong as ever. So if you can't understand me, please let me know to slow down and, you know, speak more clearly. I haven't been involved in the hemp industry because it's Malaysia. What hemp? But we certainly have been interacting with the Kanaf side of things in Malaysia since about 2016. We started to do some green building material things. We interacted with some of the Kanaf guys here who are building hemp Kanaf blocks, I guess they were, and using Kanaf cement. Most recently, and I'm actually here by proxy, my Australian colleague John Muir, who's a hemp and Kanaf expert, would have been here if he could to really give you the insights on the growing side. But from industry, you know, we've been looking at doing some work in Nusantara, as well as the work we're doing in Australia, with the new capital city over there. And you know, it's a bit of a model for what's happening in new cities around the world. They want to be green, they want to be net zero, they want to be smart and 21st century. But I guess they're facing the same challenges we are in industry. We'd love to swap out things for hemp products and Kanaf products. If there's a drop-in replacement that's within a reasonable, comparable price, and the functions typically are better, we would take the products any day. Certainly in our Australian business at the moment, we provide modular buildings for mining camps and a whole range of other things. We have the luxury at the moment of a relatively cheap product price because of the labour situation and the difference, which means we've got the scope to include hemp products and Kanaf products and so forth within our pricing and still be competitive, if only we could find them in the marketplace. So one of the things that we as industry need to do is to be a lot more supportive at the research level to help that scale up to the point where industry can take over and sort of and build to scale. So I'm looking forward to it. Certainly I've been very excited about hemp and Kanaf ever since we started to look at it some years back. The opportunities are huge. I will talk to Dr. Sarani about the water filtration, because part of the services we offer in Australia is water filtration for mining camps. Hemp would be a great product to bring into that. So I'm looking forward to this discussion. If I can be of value to anybody, then let me know. But I do again thank the organisers for inviting me today. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you guys. So it's really lovely to meet all of you. You guys are really, really experts in your fields, I would say. So I'm really excited for this discussion as well. With that said, if there's any topic that you'd like to bring up throughout this discussion, please feel free to interject, all right? Okay, so let's start off really, really easy, right? We're talking about the advantages, the benefits of industrial hemp. So first question goes off to you, Mr. Francesco. As a representative of the European Industrial Hemp Association, could you share some insights with us on the advantages of incorporating industrial hemp crops into the mix of advanced materials for carbon neutrality? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for letting me the floor. So, of course, industrial hemp fits very well with the vision of the European Union over the next 20 to 30 years. The European Union committed to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, and that can be achieved through the reduction of the emissions and through carbon storage. Hemp, well, it does help in both senses, because it contributes to carbon storage in the stock and in the manufactured goods, but it also has helps through the substitution effect. So we substitute fossil-based materials with natural-based materials. I'd like, though, we should just take something into account. Hemp, it's not per se sustainable. We need to manage it according to sustainable agronomical practices, and we really have to look at what products is the best products we can make out of hemp. In addition to that, it's not only about carbon storage and environmental sustainability, it's also about quality and performance. So hemp, as the raw material, has can perform very well in different products, from building materials to composites, and it has also been mentioned by the previous speakers. And in terms of economic and social growth, also it can help build value chains, new value chains, create new and innovative jobs. So I would say that hemp can concur to the long-term objectives in a very broad way, and the policies are getting there, the markets are also getting there, and we do see here in Europe like a very good, bright perspectives in the coming years. It will take some time because the consumers need to adapt, the legislature needs to put in place the right regulatory framework, but we are optimistic about the future of hemp in Europe and across the world.
Awesome, thank you. So that sounds like a handful of advantages just like that already, right? Carbon sequestration, sustainable alternative as a material, it creates and builds new value chain and also provides job opportunities. So that sounds like a win-win-win situation. Thank you. And to Mr. Dennis Mcmahon, with your experience in sustainable building materials, how can the introduction of industrial hemp crops complement and advance existing industry policies in achieving carbon neutrality?
Well, I think, I think, and one of our esteemed academics can remind me, what the absorption rate of CO2 for hemp is greater than the emission rate of the growth, right? I believe, I'm not sure. And it continues to basically absorb. So the more hemp that you use, obviously, you have a net positive effect. We've always been looking at how we can look at alternative materials. And I'll give you a bit of an example, I guess. It's got to be functional from our perspective. And at the moment, we're building volumetric modules, which are steel framed. We pick them up, we ship them overseas, so they've got to be strong. They've got to be capable of withstanding all of that. We are looking at using CLT and other engineered timbers as a replacement. And there is a natural step beyond that to using engineered hemp products to be able to really do a replacement for the steel products and the cement board products and things we're using now. So our intention, and certainly I think industry's intention, is to move towards, and the building industry is to move towards more sustainable products such as hemp, as long as we can make them work within the function and form and everything else. And just by virtue of doing that, we will change the construction industry, which I think is attributable to about 17 to 20% of the global CO2 emissions around the world. So obviously we have a large impact in the industry that we operate, and we need to take the opportunity wherever we can to look at things like hemp and knuff and so on, to do replacements so that people can still have their buildings, still have the comforts that they want. But at the end of the day, it's hopefully going to be a net positive contributor to the CO2 situation.
Thank you. Yeah, so carbon sequestration is a big thing, especially when you talk about the building industry, right? Construction industry. And correct me if I'm wrong, what I've heard before is that if you incorporate hemp materials into construction, it is also able to reduce the heat inside the building, and it can be more durable in the long term. Is that true?
It's a fabulous insulator. I mean, what's not to like? When you consider the direct comparison of timber, 10, 20, 30, 40 years before you harvest, and then you have to replant and so forth, and it is a CO2 emitter at the end of that process. 4 to 5 months for hemp or knuff, and you're replanting again and have another crop. So there's a lot to like about that. Certainly the net effect functionally of hemp insulation, as we understand it, and we've only tested small components, we haven't done the whole regime. It's a great insulator. So functionally, it's much better for the environment, both around the buildings as well as internally. And at the same time, because you are not introducing sort of chemical alternatives into it, it's a much healthier alternative as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, to Professor Dr. Raymond Ooi. So from a scientific perspective, what are the specific environmental benefits of utilizing industrial hemp crops as advanced materials in various industries, from your understanding? Thank you.
Yeah, looking at the structure of hemp, it especially for the cellulose, inside there you have a hollow, so it means that this material is basically much lighter than the normal cellulose. It could be used for many application of robust material, light materials, aircraft, automobiles, all these that consume energy source. So in that case, you have a lighter material. Lighter material will save a lot of fuel. So we are going towards more energy efficient manufacturing products that will help us to use less energy and also emit less heat and emit less greenhouse gases. So if we optimize the product and also the manufacturing methods, I think this product can be competent compared with the existing carbon fiber, and it could be also combined with graphene, as Prof. Sarani showed. There are a lot of possibilities making use of the basic natural structure of hemp. Yeah, another direction to go is to explore more on as I mentioned, the optical properties. Optical properties of the hemp at the atomic molecular level. That it could be used for maybe hopefully it could be used for some kind of organic solar cell or photovoltaic. That could be something worth exploring. Yeah.
Thank you. Wow, that's really interesting insight. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know that too. All right, now finding to Professor Dr. Sarani Zakaria, on top of everything that has been shared from your research in the field of science and technology, what potential do you see in industrial hemp crops to address carbon emissions, on top of everything that has already been shared, and to contribute to a more sustainable future and towards a green economy?
Green economy, yes.
Green economy.
But when it talks about carbon zero for industry, you need legislation. Because of growing plants, fast growing plants like hemp, knaf, jute, that takes about 3 months. Okay, it's good. You have lots of oxygen, and then you get back carbon dioxide. But once you cut down the tree, what happened? You have sugar inside that. It's fermentation. Fermentation got methane. Okay, then you're not talking about this carbon free anymore. And when you process it, you have to dry. If you're using solar system, it's okay. Maybe you can help. But if you're using other than fuels, then you are not contributing for that. I'm a chemist, born as a chemist. Okay. People talking about carbon dioxide, how much it will contribute to the global temperatures and so on and so forth. Have you ever think to tap this carbon dioxide and change it into some other fine chemicals? You can do that. Just get the carbon dioxide from atmosphere and convert them to many other chemicals that can be used as far as fine chemicals is concerned and other polymeric materials is concerned. You can do that. And that is first. The second thing is that for lignocellulose materials or plant materials, a lot of circular economy is concerned. There is no waste at all. There will be no, what you call, because of it is renewable resources, it is biodegradable, and it's wonders. You can do wonders with it because of it can be convertible to many other materials. So, but during the process of conversion of this one is involved a lot of industry. And I think construction industry contributes so much of this carbon emission actually. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. And another thing is like aeroplane. If you're flying, this is even worse. So you can't control, you can't convert the fuel using solar system and so on and so forth. But how you can do it by balance. I said balance is more important. If you release it to the atmosphere, take it back. You as a chemist, you can do that. I mean, you can absorb back carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and convert them into high value added products. It can be done. You just need a specific catalyst to do that. But the direction of law and legislation has to go over there. I mean, towards that particular, and most of the government has to support conversion of carbon dioxide to others, rather than stop, which is quite difficult to stop because of, we are saying, you're talking about the Asian, you should stop all the carbon emission and so on and so forth. But what have American done? I'm sorry to say. What have American done? They are contributing more. Even European, American and European contributing the most as far as, yeah. Australian also? High, yeah. Yeah, but once you want to use this plant-based material, there is a lot of limitation. You have to remember that. One, it is hydrophilic, hygroscopic, absorbs so much of water. It is the chemical component or constituent attracts so much of microbes. So you have to know what is the best. You want to use in your concrete, is good. This has been done in the ancient time, whereby when they build pyramids, they are using straws and mud. That is how it makes so strong and so light. So there are lots of contribution as far as concerned. So I think the issue of carbon net zero has to come with carbon credit and also with legislation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for bringing up about legislation. I really want to talk about that shortly. Okay, so just to end the whole topic about the advantages, the benefits of hemp, this is open to everyone. Could you guys give me an example or a case study that you know of, then would like to share with us, of socioeconomic benefits as well as environmental benefits from integrating industrial hemp crops into industry policies and practices? Who'd like to go first? Yeah.
Can I?
Oh, yes.
I just wanted to raise 2 points that were discussed before. First of all, I would like to agree with Professor Sarani about, let's say, the also geopolitical implication of a carbon emission reduction. Of course, what we call the developed countries, like high polluting countries, are Europe, the US, and all the others. So I believe it is also our role to be at the forefront of this battle. And just to jump on the topic of the construction material, let me highlight that construction products are long life products, so they can store carbon for a longer period. And we do believe that construction sector will be one of the best and the most interesting, lucrative market outputs for the hemp value chain, because precisely what has been said by the other speakers, the construction industry is the most polluting one. And what we are seeing right now is, at least here in Europe, is that the big conventional construction material companies are getting interest in hemp. So there is a will also of the conventional industry to redirect their production towards more sustainable products. As EIHA, as European Association, we issued 2 days ago also a paper that was done by a private research center on how much carbon we can store in construction products. 1 hectare of hemp meant for construction products, and we got confirmation that we can store between 7 and 9.3 tons CO2 equivalent in 1 hectare of hemp. It's pretty as much as 1 hectare of forest. The difference is that you can harvest hemp once per year, and so it allows also diversification of the raw materials compared to wood. So I would say that construction industry, it's really like we really have to look at the construction industry as one of the main output market for the hemp sector.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really optimistic to know that a lot of countries like in Europe are transitioning and looking at transitioning into using hemp materials into their construction building, right? And I think Professor Dr. Sarani earlier also made a really good point, because when we're talking about green economy or circular economy, it's not just about the material anymore, but it's throughout the entire process in the supply chain. And we also have to think about how we're going to remove the carbon or the damage that's done throughout that supply chain, which earlier was also mentioned that because of its light quality, hemp is really efficient when you're talking about transportation and, you know, in terms of fuel efficiency. Thank you so much for that input, right? Do you want to add anything else on that while we're on the topic? Okay, awesome, thank you. All right, so I'll get back to the earlier prompt, which is about sharing examples or case studies that you know of on how integrating hemp crops into industry policies and practices can benefit socioeconomy in the socioeconomic aspects. Thank you. Yeah. Mr. Dennis, you can go first. Thank you.
This is very interesting. We did some work in various places early on in my time in Asia. A lot of it in Cambodia. We were doing some work with organic farmers and other sort of smallholder groups throughout Cambodia and other places. And there seems to be this problem when you're wanting to bring the economic benefits of a new crop or a new thing like hemp or knuff or whatever to this, what we call the smallholder level. It seems to be that you either go the smallholder level, which, as our friend Fadzil can say, is difficult in any sector, or you have to go big industry, and you know, to really make the thing go to scale and whatever else. And it's always concerned me that, because typically what happens is, it's in Malaysia, the smallholder thing is tried, and for various reasons, normally because it's an independent smallholder and the project doesn't quite go where it should go. So we all think we have to go to the big industry to come and save the industry. So what happens, of course, is big industry doesn't have the care and concern for the local community that local communities do. So you either kind of have this option of, we try smallholder and we subsidise and we support and it doesn't really work very well, or we go big industry and they take all the benefits and the people on the bottom get nothing, which has always been a concern. So in my experience, and what we've tried to do, and I wouldn't say successfully, but we've tried to do it, is scale the benefits of a corporation, which is the organisation and the financial strength and the sort of competencies that come with that, at the local community level. And you really have to look at cooperatisation. I mean, Malaysia is the world mecca of cooperatives, isn't it? There are so many cooperatives here that you would think that there should be a model that allows smallholder communities in the knuff industry, in here, for example, to come together and form enough financial strength to build organisations that are perhaps regional based or whatever, but are owned by the growers, effectively, run professionally, managed well, so that the scale can happen, the economies of scale can happen, downstream industry like ours can take advantage of it, but the benefits flow back to the community, which means that people can stay on the farm, families can prosper. And I think that's the model bit that's missing. I don't know about anybody else here, but you don't want the big corps to come and take the prime stuff. You don't want to have to subsidise little guys all the time either. So there needs to be a successful model that brings the two together somehow. We'd be very happy to work on that, because it's what we've tried to do in various parts of the world for some time. I wouldn't say successfully, but it's certainly some of the models have worked. And in terms of, back to the question about bringing the socio-economic benefits, I think that's the kind of model you have to look at.
Thank you. Yeah, I think instead of just choosing between a top-down or a bottom-up approach, it has to goes both ways, right? From top-down while going bottom-up. Thank you. What about from a physicist's perspective, how does integrating industrial hemp crops complement your research efforts, or maybe you came across any projects that you'd like to share? Thank you.
Thank you. I think every plant or every product has its own uniqueness, its unique capability. What can it do? Because there's no single plant that can do everything. So the main thing is to before we, everyone is now talking about green environment thing, but but I hope it doesn't go to the stage where we are going to chop off the forest and plant the hemp because of the commodity price and so on. That's why fundamental research is important. We need to identify what is the unique capability of the hemp that can offer that other plants cannot. The uniqueness of it. One is is it really lighter? Is it very strong? If this characteristic is really the strength, we can push it to the limit and then come up with applications. Say you want to use it maybe someday to replace the automobiles. Now the cars are heavier. Someday it can be replaced, or the metal can be replaced by composite hemp aircraft also. Then that was, imagine if this transformation can happen, we can cut off a lot of the energy that we are using now. See, and then that is really the green initiative, that the green contribution from hemp. There are other aspect that I just briefly mentioned is this morning it was mentioned that it can cure cancer. I think this is also very big strength of hemp that should be fully explored and the capability being harnessed as much as possible to save life. We don't have to go into industrial base. But we need to have the capability so that it can be used for the benefit of mankind with limited cost. So it's not that the technology, we want a technology that everyone can use, not only the rich can use. Yeah. Okay. This is my view on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so speaking of transformative changes, right? Policies, legislation plays a huge role into it, as Professor Dr. Sarani has mentioned. So this is a two-part question, okay? So with the onset of climate change, the pollution issues, natural disasters occurring all around the world, there are definitely already a lot of policies, regulations set in place to achieve carbon neutrality. However, what aspects do you think are missing or need further improvement in Malaysia? First part. Second part is, how can the integration of advanced materials such as hemp or kanaf contribute to filling those gaps in the current industry policies and drive progress towards carbon neutrality? Professor Dr. Sarani?
Again, carbon neutrality. Okay, before I answer the question, we have experience, together with us is Deputy Director General of LKTN, Encik Fadil. Correct me if I'm wrong, Encik Fadil. We are facing difficulties in getting land to cultivate kanaf, right? Now you're talking hemp, okay? And we're also having difficulty for the upstream to process the fiber, to get a good fiber. That is the second thing. And with the current situation of food security, that is more important than cultivating kanaf or hemp. We need more, land for food security before you're thinking about that. That is at farmers and everything, which can contribute better as far as carbon zero emission is concerned. Okay, back to hemp, similar to kanaf. Okay, so when you're talking about legislation, I think Malaysia is very good as far as legislation policy is concerned. But how about reinforcement? We are very good in making lots of policy, laws, regulation, legislation, policies here and there. But when it comes to reinforcement, we don't have enough manpower to check. That's why when Thailand said that every house can grow 6 plants, I mean cannabis plant or any plants in the house, who's going to check this? So again, legislation or policy has come with reinforcement. If no reinforcement, no self, if everybody have a very good heart and know that what I'm doing is right and so on and so forth, is okay. But when money come above of everything, then everything is gone. Okay? You don't talk about zero emission whatsoever. They don't care because of money come first. That is thing. So when you come to advanced materials, that's why I always go for biomass, because then I won't fight with food. Whatever byproduct from the food industry can be utilized for advanced materials. If you wanted to use what you call is lignocellulose or any of the plant materials in your, let's say, construction whatsoever, you can use it from biomass. We don't have to chop down the tree to plant hemp and so on and so forth. Because of growing tree will take you about, in order to chop it down, it will take about 11 years, 7 years, maybe fast grown like acacia, 7 years. But when you're talking others, it will take you longer. Okay, so we have to choose. If let's say you wanted to be in hemp industry or be in the knaf industry, you have to choose what is the best. And it is shown that hemp and knaf is good for automotive as far as the bast fiber is concerned. Because of out of the whole stock, as far as raw material is concerned, only 25% of the bast fiber is good. The long fiber and need a good process and need to process immediately, because it is so hydrophilic, it can attack. I mean, a microbe can attack it easily. Once it's attacked, that's it. You got rot fiber, not rat fiber. Ratting fiber is good, but rotting fiber is gone. There's no strength at all. You cannot do anything with that. So even if you have lots of rotting fiber, if I wanted to put in my composite, let's say concrete, it takes longer time to cure. Cement, if you have sugar inside it, it will take more than 28 days, because in order for cement or Portland cement to cure, it will take about 28 days as far as curing is concerned. But if you have sugar inside that, it takes longer. And once it's cured less and takes lots of time, then it will give cost for them. You have to put other chemicals and so on and so forth. This is not good as far as carbon zero emission is concerned. So that's why I said we have to choose what is the best. And if you're looking at the old construction, like making of pyramids and so on and so forth, they just chop the straws, put it in the mud, use human effort and make it. Nothing at all as far as any chemical is concerned. And it can produce a very good thing. So, but we don't want to go back like the previous one, but we can modify it. Modified is that we have to know what is the reactivities mechanism and so on and so forth. That is how academic and industry has to work together. So for that, we can save the world. Everybody is happy. We are not concerning about a 1.5 degree of heatings and so on and so forth. Now we are concerned on that because of we are concerned about 1.5 degree of temperature rising. It's not to us, but to the Arctic and to the Atlantics, because of when the blocks of ice is melted, that's it, we're gone. We have no land left. And I think almost every year, Malaysia is facing with flooded and so on and so forth, and it's getting worse every time. This is all because of the global warming issues. So increasing more carbon emission and so on and so forth, it will create more higher temperature. It will create the ozone layers and so on and so forth. So we have to make sure that whatever we do to this particular world, it will benefit for the next generation. Don't destroy it, but try to improvise it. So whatever destroy we have done, try to correct it before it is too late. I hope you agree with me.
Yeah, definitely. I really hear you on that because in my line of work, I work very on the ground with community. So I hear a lot of their stories, and a lot of times we don't realize that climate change is already happening, yeah, but it's also happening closer to us than we think. We may be in our air-conditioned room, but a few kilometers away from you, we have people that are struggling with their farms, with their, with their families, with their house, with their income and their plantations, because of climate-induced disasters. So I definitely hear you on that, and the urgency is definitely there. I feel like Mr. Dennis has something that he wants to add.
Yeah,
he has a mic in his hand.
I'm curious. I'm curious about the food security argument. Sure, every country feels they should have more internal food security. No problem, I understand that. In Malaysia, though, the reason that you can't get land for Kanaf or whatever, I mean, is that because the food industry is growing? Is it because the developers are taking it for housing? Because if you're going to have food security, you must have more people or more companies growing food. And part of the problem in countries like Malaysia and many others is that most of the young people don't want to be farmers. So who's going to be the ones growing more food for food security? So
you're competing with palm oil industry. They need more land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not really food security for Malaysia, though, is it?
Yeah, but we are in scarce of as far as food security is concerned because of, like, for example, rice plantation in Malaysia is reduced. Not very many farmers wanted to plant it because of to buy it's much more cheaper.
Yes.
But once our currency is getting down and down, dropping and so on and so forth, then we can feel the pain. Yes, because the price is getting higher and higher now.
I guess the point I'm making, because the question was kind of about economic security or economic benefit and whatever. The palm oil industry is growing always because it's a very high value crop, which provides benefits for corporations, not for local communities. Bit of Felder stuff here, yeah, sure, okay, but really not. So if you're going to say that land's an issue because palm oil's taking it and therefore hemp shouldn't, which I wouldn't agree with, then I would be saying that the reason that if you're going to benefit, as I mentioned before, if you're going to benefit the lower, the community level, you've got to give them a model that lets them generate income somehow. I don't care whether it's growing hemp, growing smallholder palm oil or whatever, but hemp would seem to be beneficial to the global situation if the model was right to have smallholder farmers band together in cooperatives and benefit from that process. I think food security is not really it's not that it's not a problem, it's not that it's going to be it's not going to be solved by not growing hemp, if that makes sense.
Let us go back to the model that we did on Kanaf for the smallholder. Our Deputy Director General is here. Cik Fadil is here. Okay. Yeah, he should be one of the panels. Whereby LKTN even introduced for a smallholder to grow Kanaf. You can do the same thing for hemp. And they have subsidized a lot for the smallholder. And what they did is when you grow, you cultivate rice, let's say rice plantation, maybe in a year, 3 times or 2 times a year, in between, they allowed them to plant Kanaf because Kanaf will take about 3 months. So that LKTN will help them. That's it. It is not a prolong. When there is no incentive is given to them, that's it. And they will plant it. If nobody come and cultivate or harvest it for them, they wouldn't harvest that. So then you have to have another models. If you wanted to do hemp or Kanaf, it has to be done by the big industry, giant industry, not a smallholder. This is what happened to palm oil plantation. It's a big industry, which is they will do it intensively. It might cost them less compared to the smallholder. It will cost them much more expensive. Am I right, Cik Fadil? It's very expensive actually for the smallholder if you are if the industry, a big industry, is handling it. As far as the big plantation is concerned, the same thing with food security. If you want to do it, you have to be in a big upscale and with a big. One big company is handling it. So that it can.
Yeah, and that's where I think we'll disagree, because I think that with distributed production, distributed manufacturing, the technologies available today, you can do a lot more at a regional community, not smallholder, 1 or 2 people. Sure, you've got to band them together and you've got to structure it right and give them professional help to manage and whatever. But that's what I said before. We've always seemed to be just smallholder subsidised, or big industry take all the pot of gold, and I think that we need to find a middle way, is all I'm saying.
I think when it comes to food security, it's more of a systems problem, but it's a big topic. It's not a topic we're here to talk about today, though.
Later.
So, later, after. All right, so let's dig more into the issues that we're talking about, right? I'm pretty sure there's ends and ends and ends of lots of challenges and barriers that you guys have faced in this industry. So, just open to anyone from your experiences in implementing projects in relation to using either hemp crops or kanaf crops. What are the main barriers or challenges that you have to face to implement these projects or to get these materials integrated into our industries today? Anyone want to take the answer first?
Can I just add a little bit? To do research is okay because it is in a small amount. I mean, you might use like maximum maybe 10 kilo, 20 kilos. But once you wanted to commercialize it, the raw materials is not sufficient. So it is like egg first or chicken first. So no industry will venture in this particular business if the sustainability of the raw material is not there. Because if you start the industry, then the raw materials stop, then that's it. So might as well you have something which have alternative, meaning to say, if you don't have enough raw material of kanaf, then hemp can substitute. If it is not, then others can substitute. Because if you really depend only one species, then one the supply is not sufficient, that's it. Because of the upstream is in this kanaf industry, as far as kanaf industry or hemp industry is concerned, or any plants industry fiber is concerned, the upstream process is very, very crucial. Because if you do not process it immediately, within 3 days, that's it. Your fiber will be attacked and the quality of fiber is getting less and less. For example, I'm involved with the Malaysian standard to standardize the quality of kanaf in Malaysia. So we pick up all of the fiber from various upstream player where they process it into fiber. And the best kanaf fiber or even hemp fiber can reach up 1,500 megapascal as far as tensile is concerned. But none of ours can reach more than 500. To show that the process has to be done immediately, and the process is not good enough as far as our climate is concerned, because our Malaysia is so humid, and you have to store all of this fiber with 10% and below of moisture content. Our humidity is very high. So if you don't keep it in a very dry place, it won't last long. So that is a major challenge as far as natural fiber is concerned.
Wow, it sounds like it really needs to take a really systematic, organized approach if you were to do this full scale, right, in Malaysia. So before I move on from that question, I want to go around the floor. Anyone has anything to add to barriers and challenges?
Maybe yes. Maybe when it comes to Europe, I imagine that we can also face some similarities. Of course, it has been mentioned the regulatory aspects can be a barrier to the development of the value chain. but also what we acknowledge is that we need investments. We need investments for the processing units, and especially cortication plants. They can cost between 9 and 10 million euros, which is, I believe, something like 50 million Malay's in Malaysian currency. So I would say regulatory and investments. We need investments, and we would also need big companies that that get interested in the hemp sector for their own value chains, and they invest some money in it.
Thank you. Yeah, without money, we can't do anything, can we? That's the fact. All right. So with that said, right, let's go into talking about policy recommendations that you would think or you believe would be very impactful to driving this forward, right? So we've talked about an issue with the supply chain. I mean, the supply reinforcement, we need investments and so on. So let's hear from each of the speakers if you were to provide a policy recommendation that you would believe would really drive this initiative forward to, you know, integrate more of hemp or ganaf crops into our industries. What would that be? Who would like to start? Dennis, go for it.
Not Malaysian, but I'll stick my nose in. First thing first, like hemp is not currently legal to grow in Malaysia. That's correct, right?
Yep.
Right. So I think that that's a policy position that can change. Not that I'm suggesting hemp versus ganaf, but I understand, and those academics in the audience can enlighten me on this. There are some climatic conditions where hemp is better than ganaf to grow, I think. And there are also some benefits of hemp and benefits of ganaf. You know, some things they're better than each other in. So depending on what your final product choice is that you're trying to process to, whether it's you know, panels for insulation in cars or whatever it may be, you really should be able to choose the right crop and the right variety for that process, whatever that process is. So I think the inability to actually grow hemp in Malaysia because of the legacy thing about why hemp was, you know, banned and everything, that could just be changed overnight, I assume. So at least the flexibility was there. When I was looking at the ganaf industry, so more ganaf than hemp, we broke it down and we said, okay, if you're going to be in this game, what do you got to know? You got to know about seeds. You got to know where the seeds are, how you grow them, how you propagate them, how many you need per hectare. You need to know all that. Now, everybody here probably knows all this. It was a learning curve for me. How many seeds do I need to plant in a hectare of ganaf to grow it, you know, to get the right yield? And then we went to the varieties, and there's V36, and there's this one, and there's that one, which don't, to an outsider, doesn't actually tell you anything about the seed or the variety. What does V36 mean? Does it tell me it's a long-stemmed, hardy, woody fibre, or is it a flowery one, or is it something else, or does it do this? Is it better for this climate or not? So I think industry-wise, their own regulation about how they define things would be a useful start, so that people from outside the industry can understand, what do I got to do? What do I got to buy? What do I got, and then what do I do with it? Like, where's the user manual, if you like? Then we went to all the processes, Doctor, and you know all about this, the retting versus the rotting. You know, and I was surprised as an outsider to the industry to see that, you know, majority of players, even the big players, are still water retting. You know, they're still doing retting in natural water or in ponds or in whatever, creating the pollution offloads from that and everything else. And it's a very it looked like a very uncontrolled way to do things to me. If you're looking at it from an industrial perspective, where the challenge in the global ganaf and hemp industry is not about demand. It's about quality and quantity of good quality supply. If you can supply good quality, you'll sell it. There's no problem. But the way that we're doing it seems to be very cottage industry based, and therefore you can't rely on upstream. It's going to be quality because downstream you're not doing it very well. That's what it struck me as. So we were looking at how you would industrialise the retting process with enzymatics and whatever else, and then take it up. And then how you would go about the processing, well, then it depends on what product I'm going to have. So anyway, we went through the steps. So regulation-wise, to answer the question, sorry for that. One was government have hemp as a viable product you can grow. Two, the industry regulate themselves to make sure that people understand what things are and how they define things. And 3, government policy, the best way to grow an industry is to instigate a mandatory percentage of the product in government contracts. That is the easiest way for government to support an industry, mandated, which they did with the ethanol, with the biofuels, and that was relatively successful, I think, right? But if government mandates in every government procurement contract and in building contract, particularly JKR, whatever, there's got to be 15% of biomass-based or that type of product, whatever it may be, and let industry determine how they fulfil the 15%. The industry will support those sectors like hemp and knuff and whatever else to have the products so they can get the government contracts. So in terms of policy, government contracts, mandatory requirement.
Nice, thank you. Any policymakers out there, take note. Anyone else would like to add to that? Yeah, Professor.
I noticed that there are two barriers here. One is the fundamental aspect that Prof mentioned about that the rotting of the hemp. Another one is the industrial. The policy is not really opened up yet that to support industrial at a larger scale. So if we have these two aspects work out, I think maybe the first one, the fundamental, we can have a fundamental research that overcome the rotting issue, because right now, if you don't do it properly, the organic thing, the organic substance will rot and then become unusable. But there are always technology, intelligent innovation to overcome that. That will do marvelous magic that will make things happen. Once a fundamental problem is resolved and the policy is put in place, then industrial will be more willing to take it as for a commercial direction. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really insightful way of looking at this issue, right? With the rotting, instead of trying to work around it, we try to fix it, right? We try to overcome that. Thank you, Professor Raymond. Professor Dr. Sarani, would you like to have a take on this?
Thank you. For this industry to grow faster, the upstream and downstream has to work together. If it is not, it won't work. Because of, if you look at in European industry, for example, knuff in automotive, the planter, the converter, and also the automotive industry are working together. So meaning to say that once you grow, you know that there is another industry will convert it, and then once it is converted, it will go back to this particular industry. So it has to work together, because or else, if there is no market, there will be no demand. So it's going to be very difficult because of these types of material. If it is not unused, if it is not used, it will be rot. That's it. It is not like inorganic materials, but organic materials, if it is done, if it is not used, then it's it. That's it. So that's the reason why some of the industry in Malaysia is collapsed, because of they have the products, toward the end there's no taker. They grow the knuff, but toward the end, who's going to buy their fiber? So towards the end, they go for low-end use. Low-end use meaning to say, you grow fiber, you harvest, then you just sell it overseas at a very cheap price. So this is what the UK is doing. They bought the flowers from hemp and they process it. Because of the grower from there, there's nobody who's going to process it into CBT or THC or whatsoever. So we need to have a very good circular economy that everybody is contributing so that you don't waste. Because of any things that people do, they want things as a return. If it is not, if they can't even survive, they were not going to grow it. If it's happened to our rubber industry, when the price of rubber is when they buy the latex at a very low price, then the rubber tappers or rubber planter shift to palm oil industry. So towards the end, Malaysia, we suffered because we don't have enough. So, and it end up with the glove industry in Malaysia has to purchase latex from Thailand. And we are the major producer as far as latex is concerned, but our raw materials is not in Malaysia. So that's why if the government does not reinforce a certain legislation and so on and so forth, most of this glove industry will shift to Thailand. If they shift to Thailand, we are in a very, very big, difficult situation because of the, as far as latex industry, the glove industry is concerned, is bring like a few billions of industry, like a palm oil industry. They are one of the major contributor as far as revenue in Malaysia is concerned. So it's come back to egg first or chicken first, but it has to be in a very harmonized that everybody is contributing towards the end, then it's harmonized as far as global is concerned.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what about maybe
go
to
for
give
it.
me the floor? But just I wanted to briefly state my main points when it comes to policy actions.
Yeah.
They have been already mentioned, the legality of hemp. So of course it needs to be legal before investing in developing the value chain. And on this, I believe we need to go a bit beyond the discussion on the THC maximum limits. What we look at THC as THC control measures as most of the time as the main measures that we need to enact when it comes to control of trafficking. Yes, it is very useful, but there are also other measures that could be the obligation to have certified varieties or controls on the field. Let's look at all the different policies around the world and choose what fits best. Also, your economy, your sector, your farming sector. Mr. Mcmahon mentioned that also the public procurement that is key. Public procurement is key, especially in bioeconomy. If you want to develop hemp in construction, bio-based materials, construction materials, we need the support of the governments, and public procurement is key. And maybe one last point, we do believe as a European association that we need to collaborate with all the other associations and governments all over the world. Let's be transparent, let's share knowledge, and also let's tackle those issues that cannot be tackled in our own countries alone. So let's have a holistic and global approach to hemp and all other economic and climate issues.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I was about to say your name and then I had a little brain blackout. Sorry about that. Yes, and I love how a few of you also mentioned about collaboration and partnership. I think that's super important. Keeping in mind the time, let's just go to my last question. This is about public perception and education, right? So what role does public perception play in the acceptance and adoption of industrial hemp crops as advanced materials? And how can education and awareness initiatives help address any misconceptions or concerns? Would anyone like to take that? All right, thank you, Professor Dr. Sarani.
Everything has to start from the primary school level.
Absolutely.
The children, you have to educate children at the very, very early stage. The same thing with recycling. I think Japan has reached, as far as paper is concerned, like 85% recycling is concerned. Malaysia is only 60%, European 75%, around that. But Japan managed to reach up to 90% of recycling paper, paperboard, and so on and so forth. How did they do that? They did it during the school, for the school children. And at the very early stage, they educate children with the importance of recycling and so on and so forth. The same thing when I asked, when I was in Japan, I stayed in Kyoto University for almost 10 months there, attachment. I said, how did you introduce Knaf as a panel product in the house? The government spent like 5 years advertising and even in school, talking about kenaf panel products and so on and so forth, because they want to divert the mind of people from cutting down the tree to the fast grown trees. And also they want to educate that non-woody materials is also good as the timber. So they managed to do that. If you go to any of the Japanese house, they have a sliding door. And most of the sliding door are made from kenaf fiber. And to show that how much the government really contribute as far as reinforcement is concerned, they even give a certain incentive for those. Like us now, if let's say you want to talk about zero emission of carbon, the best thing is solar panel, maybe. So if there is a certain incentive as solar panels at all of the house has to build at least solar panels and so on and so forth, or the new housing estate and so on has to have a kind of solar panels, then you educate at the very early age as far as children is concerned, then they are talking about the carbon emission, carbon net zero. They are talking about these biodegradable materials. They are talking about so many environmental friendly and so on and so forth. Then the children will educate the parents. Because I remember when my daughter came back from home, and after you use all of the what you call is the milk carton, you want to throw it away. My daughter said, "No, mommy, you should open it and wash it first, and then after that, hang it." So I have to do that because of this is what the urge of my children. So we end up having so many of the milk carton which we have to clean it, we have to dry it, and then he said, "Mommy, every Wednesday they will come and collect." So there is legislation. If you dump your garbage with full of mix of everything, nobody will collect it. They just leave it there. So you have to divide which one is plastic, which one is glass, and so on and so forth. So education should start from home. Should start from home. You cannot reinforce people. This is cannabinoid, this is THC, and so on and so forth. If you start from home, with the children understand the dangers of it, and you give the harmonize and everything, give a good education, give some spiritual understanding, I think we don't have crime in this world. Yeah. If it is start from home. But if there's no human interaction in the house, and the children learn it from outside, and they didn't let something good from outside, then that is how upside and down as far as world is concerned. That is my 1 cent argumentation, actually.
Thank you. That's like music to my ears because climate education is my forte. But so thank you for that input. And also in you guys' opinions, right? What can the public do to help this transition or to facilitate the integration of hemp or kenaf crops into our industries? What can we do?
Just to add in, besides educating the students, many things are decided by the policy and the government strategies. See, so the politician need to have up-to-date information about the capability of our products, our technology, what we can do and what we have in a complete manner. Our industry, our university research, what we have, what we can do. If they have the clear picture, then they will plan a strategic plan where the timing is everything. You need to have the timing right. So then if they have this education complete, they have the knowledge complete, then they will come up policy and strategies such that the supply and demand and all this will connect together and things will work well. So the education aspect goes beyond the school and universities now. So our leaders need to really know what is going on at the ground Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that really ties everything together with the need for collaboration between institutions, research, as well as the government. And Mr. Francesco, would you also like to add to the discussion?
I completely agree with the previous interventions. We need to educate not only kids, students, our fellow citizens, but also the enterprises, the industry, and the policymakers. And maybe if I can add an element, I think it's what could be useful is to play with the traditional status of hemp. Hemp has been around for thousands of years, and it was one of the first fiber crops that were used in our societies. So that's also what we're trying to do a bit here in Europe, to, let's say, revive a bit the tradition of hemp and to frame hemp as a traditional crop that belongs to the history of our countries. So just a marketing argument, let's say, but that could be very powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good input as well. It's also a very good way to educate the young, by using arts and crafts or learning their culture, their tradition. Yeah, that's fantastic. Mr. Dennis, would you also like to add to that? Thank you.
Well, I think they're all great ideas. I'm just wondering though, is there really a lot of public pushback on using industrial hemp for things? I mean, maybe back in the day when it was, marijuana and whatever, and the public was really hyped up on that. But right now, I mean, if a product is a product and it does the job, if you say it's made of hemp, will they say, no, don't bring it into my house? I just don't know whether that's a particular problem. I think the problem more is about having the products that are there that they can just, it becomes part of the process, and nobody would ask any questions. So I think great to have education about it, but I don't know whether it's a big enough problem that you have to worry too much about the pushback from the public about, can we use this product in this purpose because it's industrial hemp. You're driving a Toyota, it's probably got hemp insulation boards, you don't know. So that's my view.
Yeah, that's also a good thing to look at. Anyone want to respond to that, or shall we?
Maybe if I can, I believe that the education to consumers would be key to develop consumers market rather than increase the acceptance or the acceptability of hemp as a raw material.
Great, awesome.
Voilà.
Thank you so much. I think we have exceeded way beyond our time. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to come up to our esteemed panelists after this session and ask them directly. Is that okay? I kind of give you permission on your behalf. But yes, I think that's it for this session. Thank you so much for everyone joining us all the way up till 5:10 p.m. We're going to be stuck in a jam together. It's okay. We had a really fruitful session, I think. Thank you to the really, really awesome panelists that we had today. Of course, also Mr. Francesco. Even if you're not here, you're here by spirit and also virtually, of course. Thank you. Yeah, back to you.
Thank you, Sharmaine. Thank you to our esteemed panel speakers. Round of applause for all the insights and valuable knowledge that they have shared today.